I argue that you should love your neighbor and buy local. I am the leading Noogacentrist in Chattanooga. Dave Crockett and I dispute who is the leading Noogacentrist. He thinks he is, but I'm defiant of that argument. The former mayoral candidate, David Tulis here, a minor host, bow tie. That's what they call me, bow tie, in derogatory fashion, naming my costume, part of my costume, as a substitute for the man, David Tulis. But I am here, and I argue against the established theme. They say that far is better than near. They say big is better than small, and they declare in steel that complex is better than simple. And I say, no, you're wrong. You've got it backwards. And even in the footnotes, they will argue against local economy and against the free market. And they'll say that corporate is better than personal. And they'll insist at 5-point type. Of course, it's sans serif down there. They'll argue that abstract is better than physical. And I say, no, I'm the dissenter here at Nooga Radio, David Tulis. And my dissent is widespread. It covers a lot of areas. And I think in the end, a lot of the things that we argue for, the reason that you, my listener, come back, just give me a couple minutes, and I really appreciate that you do that. You come back is because you want the fuel to understand our real dilemma. We are facing a national disaster. Look at the obesity figures as part of this national disaster. It is a disaster, a vast scale, and it's not. It's in the headlines occasionally, but it is one that affects many areas of national economy, of local economy as well. In a way, we're victims of national economy. We're victims of national government. We're not allowed to be self-governing. No, we can't have that. We've got to have Nashville. We've got to have Washington, and we have all these minders, bean counters, rule givers, and enforcers. Everywhere you go, there are enforcers, some of them with flashing lights, though not all. Others come by mail and try to get you into administrative jurisdiction and saying that you can't exercise your right. There is no right, as you're saying. In fact, you have to come with us into our intra-agency tribunal and suffer a bit. Well, I'm a very optimistic person, have a very positive argument. And part of the argument that we want to consider now is that of organic food and the small farmer. We are a nation of big farms, of CAFOs. CAFOs are concentrated agricultural feeding operations that have tens of thousands of millions of chickens, let's say, or tens of thousands of cattle living in misery. And the fine milk you're getting at the food line, the food city, the A&P of the Walmart comes from these operations. That it all looks great there on the shelf, but there's a problem, and that is the misery and the ill health of many of the animal providers. Fred Nelsen runs Healthy Kitchen. It's an organic farm near Sequatchie. It's on Fredonia Mountain. It's right near Wheeler's Apple Orchard. Maybe you've been there to the orchard to pull apples. I've been there before. My wife, Jeanette, has. I remember having taken children there as well. Fred, you're 63 years old. You're a retired nurse, and you're drawing on your Social Security a little early. You have 3 grown children and 5 grandchildren. How is it that you got started with farming? You run. It's called Healthy Kitchen, and it's an organic farm. How did you get started?
Well, I got started very young and early because I grew up on a farm in Ohio. My grandparents had that farm, and it was a productive farm, but it was more conventional farming methods. It wasn't market gardening, what we do. I have 10 acres, and 2.5 of that is under production. So I got into it slowly way back when, and I've always enjoyed gardening. And now that I'm retired, I've picked that up as really what I want to do. And I wish I'd done it earlier, what I'm doing right now.
Well, you were a nurse earlier. Say a little bit about that part of your life and career.
Well, nursing is a great profession. It's something that's very worthwhile. But you spend a lot of your time with your coworkers instead of with your family. The advantages I see with farming is that, I just walk out the door. I don't spend time driving to work or getting back from work. I go out my door and there's my work.
There's your work.
Yeah.
Now you do some driving when you come into Chattanooga or maybe some other places to farmers markets. Tell a little bit about your schedule and how where you go about.
Yeah, well, when I started out, we only did, and this was about 4 years ago, one market, and that was Signal Mountain. So we started small, and everybody that gets in this business, I think, doing market gardening starts small. And then it's a learning curve, a learning process. They learn what to do, how to market their things, and they get into other markets. Right now, we have downsized to just 3 markets a week. We were doing like 5, 6 markets last year, and that was just too much. So it's just my wife and I, and we're doing 3 markets. We do Wednesday market, Main Street, 4 to 6. In Chattanooga, we do 2 markets on Thursday. I go to Ooltewah, and that is 3 to 6 market, and my wife does Signal Mountain, and that's a 2 to 4 market.
So you're separated from that market.
4 to 6.
You're not together. Right. Well, how is it that 6 markets was too much? Where did the strain show up in your product or in your life that made you withdraw from that schedule?
Well, it's just too much to keep up with. When I did it last year, it was with my son, and we had a little more help, but it got to be too much. And
did that affect the quality of what you produced?
I don't know,
because you were not tending to the soil.
What we did was we plant too much and not able to take care of enough, so you don't reap all the benefits. You don't have a great harvest. It's better to downsize to be able to take care of everything you've planted and be productive with that. You can do better than trying to plant too much.
So rather than have 4 rows, or let's say 6 rows of peppers, you plant 3 rows of peppers, but make sure that the hand weeding that you do is effective and right. Is that kind of the trade-off? If you have more rows, you don't maybe care as much about each particular plant.
That's right. That's exactly right.
So that was a quality problem.
Right. Your weeding could get out of hand if you're not there, taking care of that. And then, side dressing, which is, putting compost, manure on your plants, that can fall by the wayside too. So, if you're taking care of the amount that you can take care of, you're going to have better production.
Now, do you have any of your 3 children living near you? You mentioned a son.
I do have David. He's a professor of biology at Southern Adventist University. My other son that was working with me, he's in Franklin right now. He's going back to school.
So do you have employees that you hire or whom you hire periodically at Healthy Kitchen?
Actually, I haven't hired anyone yet. I do have some friends that help us out from time to time, and we really appreciate their extra input. So, but we want to get to the point where we can actually, my wife and I, just manage it ourselves.
Well, my listener has a teenage son, and he's always thinking of ways that he could get the son into something diverse from his current dreary teen life. What about, is there some way that my listener's son could learn farming from someone like you? Is there like an internship where in exchange for a room in your house, let's say, and being fed, he provides it at no charge to you. He provides you the labor, and then is promised that he can learn how things work and make notes as he goes. Is it something like that possible? Or
I'd love to do that. I'd really like to.
How would that? Explain how that would work.
Well, we have room in our house. I have a big old farmhouse. It's just my wife and I, so we have plenty of room. As far as them learning, there's lots to learn, and I don't claim to be a know-it-all on farming and the whole business. I'm still learning, but I do have experiences now. So 4 years gives you some experiences, and I enjoy what I'm doing, and I think I could pass on a certain amount of knowledge. And a lot of it is just timing. When to plant, what to plant, when to get those seedlings in the ground, when to harvest. There's optimal times for everything. So,
and some of those you're not 100% sure about, but you're trying. You're saying, well, we're not sure, but last year we did this, the year before we did that, and we're going to try something maybe between the two. And so you're constantly learning as you're going.
That's right. There's a certain amount of just trial and error.
Well, I think my listener is probably a city person, Fred Nelsen of Healthy Kitchen, and so he's thinking this sounds really interesting, and the daughter could be there for, let's say, a month, You can say, okay, we'll try it for a month, and there's, you just stay here with us, and you learn, and there could be some requirements. Maybe the mom and dad could say, okay, well, if you're going to do that, you have to come back with a notebook. Okay, the notebook has to have drawings, it has to have photographs, it has to have notes about things to know. Maybe there could be a bibliography that the student would have to create, including, like, I'm holding up here a book. It's called The Market Gardener by Jean-Martin Fortier. Maybe I'm saying, maybe he's not a real Frenchman, but that's a French name. And it's a successful grower's handbook for small-scale organic farming. So a book like this could be one that your my listener's son or daughter would create in a bibliography, and hopefully there'd be some notes made in that bibliographical notes saying what this book has. And so in the evening time, rather than playing a video game at the Fred Nelsen house, your son or daughter, the intern, would say, okay, I'm going to spend an hour with this book. What can I get from this book in an hour? And make notes of it as part of his notebook. And that notebook then is proof of having done this experience at Healthy Kitchen Farm on Fredonia Mountain.
Right. I'd like to add that the author of this book also has a lot of YouTube videos, has the same information. So if you're not into reading a book at like a textbook form, but like the YouTube videos, he has a lot of pertinent information. And a lot of times in the evening, I want to just kind of relax and kick back a little bit. But my wife, she wants to keep going. She likes to learn. So she watches those YouTube videos, and, it's kind of like, get into it, you're doing this, learn something more.
What I like about the idea of an internship, Joel Salatin, the wild and wacky all-natural farmer who's also a great writer, he's had people stay with him on and off. They come and stay, they study, they just listen, they absorb the different rhythm of life on the farm. You're up in Sequatchie County, Fred Nelsen. They come and they learn, and they have a completely different way of seeing things. And there's something, I'd say, something sanctifying about that. There's a kind of holiness that you can get by seeing where it's all, in a way, it's all free. God, you put the seed in the ground, and God gives you a melon, right? He gives you a giant orange pepper, right? Mm-hmm. And that plus labor, ground plus labor, and you have a well of resources coming out into these local markets.
Yeah, there's a lot of biblical parables that Christ talked about, and it all relates to agriculture, and he used that theme for teaching the people a lot of spiritual lessons. So I think there's a lot you can learn from just gardening. And as far as children, coming in and learning, my wife and I even kicked around the idea of having homeschoolers come in and, time when they could come in and learn some more and do some hands-on things. Because hands-on is probably the most important thing you can do in this business. Most of what I've learned is hands-on. So if we can get the children involved and get their hands going with their minds, I think they would be much richer for it.
Now, I'm holding in my hand here for the YouTube viewer. Well, if you're watching on YouTube at Hot News Talk Radio or watching us on Facebook at Nooga Radio, you're seeing that I'm holding up a basket. It's a plastic basket with a kind of a stiff handle. And what are we looking at in here, Fred Nelsen?
Well, we've got what's in here? I think we've got a very variety of tomatoes. We've got some honey, a jar of honey. We've got the green thing there. That's the sweet basil. Very nice. We've got some. That's
a leaf here.
Yeah. And very aromatic. We can smell it. You can't. Sorry.
Yes, it's very strong. This is basil.
Yeah. And we also have some of these. These are called ground cherries or husk cherries. They don't look edible, but you peel them back, and that's very sweet.
There's a little veil on each one. There's a little veil, and the corners meet with a little 3 or 4 points at the top, like a little crown, you might say.
Right, and these have been a great promo in our markets. We'll take these and offer them. Try a husk cherry, try a ground cherry. They try it, they like it. Never heard of this, something new. So, and a lot of people buy them because they really enjoy them. It's almost like potato chips.
Now, I'm holding in my hand what looks like about a 30-millimeter bullet, a red bullet. What is this?
That is a pepper. And, I'm terrible with names, and I don't remember the exact name of that one. But I know it's an Asian variety.
It's a hot pepper.
It is a hotter pepper. Yeah, mildly hot. It's not like the other green ones that we have in there, which are serrano peppers.
Yeah, here I'm holding in my hand a very soft, smooth-skinned, yellowish tomato, And also in this white basket with a fixed plastic handle, there are some
Romas.
like small hand grenade tomatoes, Roma tomatoes.
Yeah, that's your Roma.
Right, right. So these are some. Now, when you say organic, Fred Nelsen, what does that mean? Is that a lawful usage of that term, or are you hijacking it?
Well, some people might think I am because I'm not certified organic.
Okay,
I haven't gone for certification.
So I'm the one saying that, not you.
But I can say, I mean, as far as freedom of speech, I should be able to say, you know, that's my practice. My practice is I practice organic methods. I don't use chemical sprays for pests or for weeds or anything else. So that's my belief, my practice, and my wife backs me up.
So you're not making legal claims here. You're just making claims in common parlance and common usage.
But I can say that truthfully. It's organic.
And here also I've got some berries in a little plastic container with a lid. What does my listener need to see in his mind's eye on this?
Oh, blueberries. Something good and sweet. So berries are something we like to grow. They sell well, and strawberries, blueberries, raspberries, blackberries, very good.
What is cash flow in your business like? And is it taxable?
We don't do any taxing at farmers markets, so we don't tax the public. You know, the price that the vendor sets, that's the price. No taxes added on. I'm tax exempt for certain things, farm things that I got from the state of Tennessee. So if I buy some things pertaining to garden, if I buy wood chips, if I buy mushroom compost, that's tax free for me. As far as
is that because you're a retailer, or how is that? How is it your tax exempt?
Because it's farmer. As a farmer, I can get that exempt.
So the farm produce is not taxed by the state. The state does not demand you be a tax collector on its behalf. Collect 7 or 8 or 9%. Give you a small portion of that for your services and profit. And that is because you are producing things, Fred Nelsen of Healthy Kitchen, and selling it directly to my listener.
Right.
Right.
Yes.
Okay. And so that this non-taxable event, you're tax immune. So that's the thing about that. You, my listener, if you go to the farmer's market, you may pay a little bit more for healthier fare than what you get in the industrial food sector. But the tax man is absent.
Right. Right. And I don't even pretend to compete with Walmart that gets their things from California, from agribusiness. If you knew the time and effort that a small farm puts into what they do bring, and as far as my cash flow, what is
cash flow? What's cash flow per month? Let's say
I've been making pretty consistently $800 to $950 a week now.
A week.
Yes, a week, and that's on 3 to 4 markets.
And since you're half in the money economy and half out, you can subsist on what you grow, right? You don't have expenses for groceries as I do. I have to go to a store and pay money and pay the tax. You don't have to do that because you eat off your farm.
Well, I can, and we do quite a bit. Yeah, but we as far as the money that comes in, there's some expenses to that, and we're not getting rich. Believe me, we're just basically paying our bills and surviving like a lot of people. And
trying to live a healthy life. You and your wife Anna, and you have 3 grown children.
Right.
Well, okay. Now, give my listener just a list of the kinds of things that are dotting your field at Healthy Kitchen Farm.
Right now, we're kind of finishing up on tomatoes. We have quite a bit of squashes and summer stuff. Right now is the time to get in there and start your winter garden. So we're going to be planting a lot of green things that are just good for winter time, that survive the winter. Such as collards, spinach, carrots, beets. There's a lot of green leafy things, mustard greens, and good things that are sweeter and nicer. Kale in the wintertime than in the summertime.
So tomatoes, then Fred Nelsen, and melons, potatoes. That is now you're now at the end of that season.
Right. I've got sweet potatoes that will be coming on, and they will last well through a number of the winter months. So I'll have sweet potatoes to sell in the wintertime.
How can my listener find out more about you, Fred?
Well, they can go to Facebook, check us out on the Healthy Kitchen, that site. They could give us a call at 423-242-5464.
Give that number again.
423-242-5464.
Fred Nelsen, thanks for joining us.
Thank you.
This is David Tulis, Nooga Radio. Thanks for giving us a couple minutes every time. I've got some very important messages for you to hear. Remember, radio is prospers and thrives when you, the listeners, support our advertisers. Go to our advertisers and say, hey, love to hear your ads on the David Tulis Show at Nooga Radio. We're the Sean Hannity station. We've got Colin Cowherd and great local programs here at Nooga Radio. David Tulis, thanks for joining us.
Nooga Radio, AM 1240, 92.7 FM.
Does your business have enough clients? Are you confused about how to stand out in today's saturated social media market? Do you feel lost trying to navigate?